Your title was too long, Brent.
Okay.
I had to reduce the title. We're just about to start up.
Okay. Good to go here.
Okay, we're live on YouTube. So today's presentation is staying out of harm's way, and Brent Okeson's going to take it from here.
Yep. Good morning, everybody. We're going to talk about some things today, how to keep ourselves safe, things that we can watch for to not have an accident. So there's a couple things we want to look at, two main focus areas. OSHA has some things that we focus on, especially in the construction industry, that they call their fatal four or their focus four hazards, things that really cause some damage and cause injuries and fatalities. And two of those are what we're going to focus on today. So one is being struck by or hit by something, and the other is caught in or between something there. They're really big things. The other four that are on their focus four are falls and electrocutions, but these are the two we're going to focus on today: struck by, hit by, or caught in between. And it's usually caused by something that's in motion. So we want to watch for those today and learn from those. In 2018, OSHA did some statistics on fatalities. 16% of fatalities in OSHA construction were caused by being struck by, hit by, or caught in or between something else. So that's where we want to focus today. And this could apply to anything we do. Anywhere you go in life, anything you're doing on the job, wherever you work, there's always something that you could be hit by or caught in between. So we want to learn from that as we go through this today. So what does struck by and hit by mean? Well, it's forcible contact or impact between the injured person and an object or piece of equipment, something that's in motion, something that contacts you or impacts you that you're injured by. What is caught in between? It's injuries resulting from a person being squeezed, caught, crushed, pinched, or compressed between two or more objects or between parts of an object, such as the picture here, where you have a track hoe or a backhoe moving and an employee is in the way between a barrier where it can roll into you and crush you or pinch you or get caught in between something there. So those are examples. Now, for these to happen, to be struck by or hit by something, motion is what's involved. Something is in motion that hits you or catches you. And so it could be something that's flying. It could be something in the air that's airborne, flying particles, flying materials. Could be something falling from above in motion with gravity and falling above you. Could be something rotating, equipment, machinery, something that you work around that's rotating and moving, even swinging, and something that was rolling. It could roll into you and cause an injury that way. So to be struck by or hit by something, there's some motion, something moving around you. Also with caught in between, it's also things in motion. These could also be falling materials, something above that falls and pins you or crushes you. You get caught in between some type of moving materials. Even vehicles and equipment or machinery on the work site that you work around, you could be caught in between. And this could be any part of your body, such as your hand or your whole body being hit or crushed by or hit by something else. And these are things we want to watch for today. Looking at claims over the past few years here at the Trust, the top three issues for these types of injuries, number 3 was struck or injured by something. And we always see strains being one of the top things, and we see falls and slips being big as well. Those are very common, but surprisingly, number 3 is being struck or injured by something else. And this was each of the last 3 years. It was also the number 3 cause of work comp injuries. So we want to learn from that today. So what kind of claims have we seen? Here's some examples that we've seen here at the Trust where employees were injured by being struck by or hit by something. And one, we had an employee that was working, and there was a ladder nearby that fell over, and it hit him on top of the head and the back. So they were struck by the ladder as it fell. We had somebody that was lifting a large metal vault lid, and as they were carrying that and moving that vault lid, the lid dropped on their right foot and crushed their foot, causing injury there. We had an employee that was working on a lawnmower, and it was a riding lawnmower, and apparently the lawnmower jerked. It threw the employee off and ended up getting run over by the mower. We had somebody using a log, putting it into a chipper. As they were loading it into the chipper, it was pulled, and they were hit and struck by that log as it was being pulled into the chipper. And then the last one, another example, employees installing a new stop sign, and they were using a fence post pounder. And as the two of them were using that pounder, the pounder came off and hit the other employee in the head. and pretty bad injury, being hit in the head by something like that. But surprisingly, we see that a lot of times. Being hit by post pounders, being hit by moving things. These are all things that we can be struck or hit by and have an injury with. Here's some examples of caught in between claims. This is where employees were caught in or pinched in between something here in the last few years. So there was an employee that had their finger that got caught between a board and a cinder block, and it crushed their finger. As they were moving cinder blocks around, it came in contact and crushed them with the material. While working on a mower, there was an employee that had it up on a jack. They were doing some maintenance to it, and the mower slipped off of the jack, and they had their hand underneath it, and it came down and crushed their hand. Had an employee moving a golf cart around, and as they were moving that cart, their ankle was for some reason outside of the cart, and it came in contact and pinned them between another adjacent cart, causing an injury to their ankle. Had an employee moving a 50-gallon drum, and as they're moving it, it slipped off and landed and crushed an employee's toe. And the last one here, injured by a boulder, caught in between a boulder, where they were building a bike trail, and the boulder ended up coming loose and rolling down the hill and rolling on top of their leg, causing a leg injury. You can see, materials, things that we're moving, things that we're working around, there's things that can crush us and hit us, and we can be caught in between. So things are in motion, and that's where a lot of these injuries happen, is when we're in motion. Things are in motion around us. So we're going to look at several things now. We want to think about what is in motion around me. What is it that could get me? What is in the way? Here's some of the bigger obvious things: large equipment such as backhoes and large equipment on a job site, forklifts that are moving around, backhoes, large trucks, trailers, things that are being backed up and moving around you. We have to be aware of these large types of things moving around us. And it can be a bad thing. You can imagine what would happen if you came in contact with large equipment like this. We even had an employee 2 years ago that lost their life here in the state, standing too close to large equipment, and were run over by the tracks of the equipment, and it can happen. So we have to be aware and alert of what's around us at all times. The next one here is looking at swing radius. We have to realize that if we're standing next to a piece of machinery, such as a track hoe or something like that, things can swing around. And so we don't want to be standing and putting ourselves at risk, standing right next to that area that could swing around and get us, such as the picture here, where you could be caught in or crushed or pinned between an adjacent object, or even struck by or hit by that machinery as it's swinging around. And it's not just the machine itself. It may have, such as a backhoe, it may have an arm that extends out, and you want to stay out of that radius of where that can swing around and possibly hit you. And this could be any machinery, any type of equipment that you're working around in the job site. We have to be aware as well of what's around us. Traffic is one of the things we really have to watch for. There's always vehicles moving around. If you're working on the side of a roadway, or if you're standing on a sidewalk or places where traffic could come, you have to watch for those things. Watch for your walkways, your crossways, crosswalks, things like that. Even parking lots where vehicles are backing in and out, you have to be aware of what's in motion around you, that you don't get hit or struck by moving vehicles. Here's another example that we'll look at. Materials being thrown down and not paying attention, and the employee gets hit by some type of material that's falling. We have to be aware that things can be above us. We have to watch for overhead work. So if you're walking into an area and you see people working up overhead, you have to be aware that there could be objects falling down, there could be materials, there could be tools, something from above that could fall down and hit you. Gravity is a constant, and it's always there, and you don't want to put yourself in a tough situation with people working overhead if you don't have to be there. So watch for those falling objects and things that can hit you. Watch for unbalanced loads. This is another things that cause being struck by or hit by or crushed by something. It could be materials that are stacked and they're unbalanced and they topple over. You could be standing next to that and they could hit you, or it could be something that's being moved around, such as material that's carried on a forklift that's not balanced and secured properly, and it gets off balance and rolls off and could possibly hit you that way. So being aware of how things are stored and stacked in your workplaces, in your shops, in your storage areas, those are really important to look for. Make sure things are stacked good and solid, and don't put yourself underneath something that's unbalanced or could possibly roll over or topple over. Another thing we need to be aware of is people working nearby. When you walk into an area and you see somebody working there, take a look around, see who's there, see if they're using any power tools, if there's anything moving around, be aware of what they're doing. Maybe they're carrying things or moving things, handling materials. Just be aware. You want to watch others and you want to know what they're doing to keep yourself safe, the people that are moving around you. Another thing that could be in motion is some type of stored energy. If there was a pressurized system that you're working around and it were to release pressure, maybe something were to bleed off some pressure or something were to fail, you could be hit by or struck by some material or pressurized system that's releasing stored energy. This could be water, it could be a chemical, it could be even compressed air or hydraulics, anything that has stored energy. We need to be aware of that we could be possibly hit by there. Flying debris and materials, things that become airborne, such as grinding. If somebody's grinding nearby, you won't want to walk into the area that they're grinding. Cutting, there could be sparks, there could be other debris and things that are flying around that could hit us. And even pressure washing. When you're pressure washing on a surface, you've got that pressure going on, it can kick up particles and debris and become airborne and possibly hit into you or other people. So you need to be aware of what's in motion with those kind of things. I actually had this happen to me one time. My dad and I were working on welding and grinding on some steel pipe, and he was grinding away and I was off doing something else, kind of had my back to him and thought I was in a safe location because he was grinding and sparks were going a certain direction. And I turned around to look and see kind of what was going on and what he was doing, and didn't realize that he had changed his position and his angle, and it caused those sparks and material to come off of there at an angle that it hit me right in the head. And reminded me that we have to pay attention. We have to be aware of our surroundings and watch what's flying around, because things can definitely hit into us. And you have to be aware. You have to be aware of what your other people are doing around you, where they are, and what's in motion as you're working. Other things that people get caught in or between are machinery, things that are moving, things that are rotating, or anything with a cover missing that you could get caught in or pulled into. Those are things that could be in motion. So if you see a picture like this with guards missing, or if you see chains or pulleys, things that moving that you could get caught into, that's something you could be caught in or between. So you want to have your covers on. You don't want to have any covers missing or any guards missing. You don't want to have any wheels that are turning that are open that you can get caught in, or saw blades or anything like that. You want to have everything guarded and covered up, and be aware of those things that are moving around you. What's in motion? It could be parking lots. These are an area where a lot of people get hit by cars. Sometimes people are backing out of their parking space and they just can't see the person that's behind them, and they could possibly run them over. So you have to watch for your access points and choose good walking paths. Where you put yourself and where you walk in a parking lot is really important to keep yourself safe and avoid being hit by or struck by something. So here's another example I'll share with you. Someone in the way of a car standing in front of it. Sometimes we don't want to put ourselves in a bad situation. Standing there, maybe they're possibly testing something here, but things didn't work right, and the person was hit by the car. And so we can learn from that we don't want to put ourselves in harm's way. We don't want to stand in the way of something that's moving or coming at us, or something that could hit us or crush us. We have to watch for that. So what we call this is situational awareness. And this is something we can use in all that we do every day, everywhere we go. We need to stay alert and be aware of what's going on around us, especially those things in motion that we could be struck by, hit by, or caught in between. And so whenever you're going to a place, or you're working, or each day that you go, ask yourself, is there anything moving around? Is there anything moving that's in motion that I could be hit by? Ask yourself, what is in motion? Who is nearby? What are they doing? Being aware and alert of what they're doing around you can help you avoid those things. And ultimately, what could get me? What is it out there that could get me, that I could get caught in, that I could be hit by? What is the hazard that could catch me or hurt me? We have to be aware of our surroundings and recognize those things to keep ourselves safe. And it's kind of common sense, just being aware of what's going on, being aware of your surroundings. Those are things that can keep you safe. Some people are a little better at that than others. Some people recognize hazards a little better. Some people are more familiar with what can get them. But training and recognition and having that situational awareness can help save your life and avoid injury. One of the best things you can do is give yourself some space. So you have to know where to stand. Don't stand right next to something that could hit you. It reminds me of one of my favorite TV shows. My family and I, we like to watch AFV, America's Funniest Videos. And I see so many times on there's kids with piñatas where a dad or a grandpa comes up and they give the little baton or the stick to the kid and they say, okay, go ahead and give it a good whack. And usually that dad or that grandpa is standing right next to that kid as they're swinging. And what happens? They get hit and they get hurt pretty good. And so it just reminds us that we need to give ourselves some space. If there's something in motion, something that could be swinging, something in the way, we want to stand back and not get hit by or struck by something else. And that's, just thinking about where you stand, where you walk, and remember not to put yourself in harm's way. Such as this little boy. A couple boys here playing. They're going to try some things out, maybe hit the apple. Putting ourselves in a tough situation is not a good idea, and we have to stay alert and aware of those things. So one thing you can do is don't assume that the other person sees you. If you're near traffic or you're going to be in a crosswalk or walking out, or maybe you're around large equipment, you want to make sure that you stay visible and you want to confirm that the people see you. Don't just dart out in front of them and get hit by a car. Wave at them. Maybe there's some kind of hand signals or a wave. Wait for them to wave back at you and confirm that they see you. And don't be in such a hurry that you get out there and get in the way of something that could hit you. Wait just a second. I had a situation like this when I was playing Little League Baseball. We were in the dugout, and my teammate thought it would be a good idea to warm up and start swinging the bat in the dugout. And obviously that's not where you want to do that. So I was standing there off to his right side, and I wasn't aware that he would be swinging because, I'm a right-handed batter. Well, turns out he was a left-handed batter, and I didn't realize he would be swinging the other direction. And so I stood right there and took a good whack with his bat. And he didn't know I was there, and he was, behind me and shouldn't be swinging there anyway. But I realized that I shouldn't be standing next to somebody that could swing a bat. And so we need to realize, don't put ourselves in a situation where you could be hit by. Communicate, make sure they see you, make sure they know that you're there. Don't just go sneaking up behind somebody and get surprised by being hit there. So things we can learn from. Another way that we can protect ourselves from being hit by or struck by things is make sure we wear our PPE, our personal protective equipment. On a job site with large equipment and around traffic, you definitely want to have a high visibility vest that's required so that they can see you and know that you're there, that you're clearly visible to people that are operating equipment around you. And you want to protect yourself with safety glasses. That can help you from being hit by or struck by and having an injury to your eyes. Hard hats prevent the impact to your head. If you're grinding and things are flying around that you're working on, you're going to want a face shield, maybe even steel toe boots. There's things that can protect you from the impact of being hit or struck by something. So we have to be aware of things, and we have to protect ourselves in all that we do. To summarize, the key is to pay attention. To avoid being struck by or hit by something, we have to be alert. It's that situational awareness we talked about. We need to be able to recognize the hazard and have that constant awareness at all times of what's moving around us. And the key, again, it's kind of common sense, but don't put yourself in harm's way. Don't stand in front of things that could move into you or hit you. Be aware of what's moving around, whether it's tools and equipment or machinery. We don't want to be caught in or crushed or pinned between something or hit by something that's moving around. So watch for those things that are in motion. And hopefully that raises awareness to these things that can move around us and cause injury. And that's the goal, that everybody stays safe and avoids those things. Jason, any questions that you're seeing out there today?
Folks, do you have any questions? If you do, go ahead and type them into the chat box, and we'll answer those right now. Great presentation, Brent. That was, as you go through that, I just keep remembering different examples throughout life. And those are the ones that are really funny on America's Funniest Videos, but pretty painful.
Yeah.
I had a little accident myself over the weekend. I was making salsa with my wife, and I was cutting up the peppers, and I had my PPE on, had my gloves on, and then my glasses started to fog as I was working over the sink. And so I put my glasses up for a second, and then I cut a jalapeno and squirted jalapeno juice in my eye.
And they're done that. Struck by
I
jalapeno.
was struck by that. Well, I don't see any questions or comments coming in there. So we can probably wrap up unless we got something else to add. Doug or Brent?
I would add my experience from over the weekend as well. You know, given the storm damage, I spent a lot of time last week helping people cut up trees and branches and stuff. And that's another one where and we could have a lot of guys out, you know, cutting up trees right now. You know, you get that stored energy in the branches when a tree's falling down. You cut that branch and it's got some tension in there, and it's going to go a different direction maybe than what you're expecting, or the log maybe rolls as you're cutting some of those other branches out from around it. So being really careful and paying attention, you know, to where, you know, that wood may want to go once you release the energy that's in that wood, whether it's from the wood itself or gravity or what have you. That's going to be a big one, I think, this week, with a lot of folks cutting up trees and branches and slash piles. And we hauled a bunch of limbs and stuff down to our city's public works yard where they're eventually going to chip it. But that's a monster of a pile they've got there now. It's probably, you know, 12 feet high and it's massive. And these guys are going to be getting in there, pulling these branches out to run all that stuff through a chipper too. And so, you know, there's going to be a lot of you know, little catches in there where unexpected movement's going to occur. And those are things we have to really be careful for, because sometimes it's kind of hard to know which direction something wants to go.
Yeah, really good point, Doug. And you know, sometimes projects like that, we get a lot of inexperienced people on there as well that may not understand those things. So being aware of people's skill level and all that. Brent, final word.
Everybody be aware of what's around you. It's things that are in motion that can get us. So be safe today and every day. Have a great day.
All right, folks, we'll be doing this again at 9 o'clock. So if you've had some folks that maybe missed this one, go ahead and to utahtrust.gov and click on training and events, and they can sign up right there. We can sign up same day and it'll actually work. You'll get an email and have the Zoom information there. Beyond that, and then at 10 o'clock, we'll be doing our First Amendment audits. Excited about that one. That'll be a great presentation today. So make sure you sign up for that as well. Thank you very much, Brent. Everybody, go out and have a safe day.